evening. Welcome to DTMT. We are so glad that you could join us today for another episode of Doing the Ministry Thing. Just a reminder that we do this interview so that if you are in ministry, if you ever want to join ministry, you're able to learn and hear from men and women who have gone before you. We are going to address issues of how they received their calling, what they've been doing so far, the celebrations, the challenges, everything that has to do with ministry. And so we are so excited today to have a man of God all the way from Shanzu, Ray of Light Church. And so it is my honor to introduce Pastor George Obiero. Allow me to ask, what are some of the key lessons that you have learned over the years in ministry that you would share with someone who is in ministry or praying at the moment, seeking the Lord on coming in on board into full-time ministry? What are some of the key lessons that you've learned along the way, that if you were to write a book or talk to someone who is thinking and praying about joining ministry, you would let them know in advance before you join this faith journey? There are some things that they need to know. What are some of these things?
Once somebody is called into full-time, or rather is called as a call of God, the call of God will demand that God is your all sufficiency.
Amen.
And if so, it is critical that when you still have cushions, you begin to practice to live that kind of lifestyle, to obey God even while you are in your vocation. That is very, very critical, because then you have a safer landing. I started learning how to live by faith when I was still working. So the monies would come and I would ask God, what should I do with this money? And the Lord would direct. So, even if you've given everything, at the end of the month you're getting a salary.
Yes.
So it's critical that we begin to practice dependence on God when we still have cushions around our life. Number two, there is nothing that will ever satisfy except when you are in what God has called you to be.
Amen.
Otherwise, the experience will be like Jonah in the belly of a fish. You will never be comfortable. So you will always find yourself unsatisfied doing what you are not called to do. So it's critical that we embrace it. Number three, we are not the first. It is important to find out who has gone ahead of you. Try and gain strength. We can't relate with Paul and Peter and Barnabas. Those are Bible guys,
Yes.
But there is somebody living that you can actually look to, say, they are walking my path. So it's critical to identify who is in your life and see what you can draw from them. And if the Lord gives you favor, that this is somebody you can interact with, sit and ask questions. Equip yourself, because that hour is coming sooner or later. And somebody who's gone ahead of you, a forerunner, then they will encourage. So you will get a lot of encouragement from a forerunner. I remember we grew together, and this was a sister that I really loved, and she quit work first and started serving God. And I said, this is more like it. And she was like, Mina Wajam quit. And I said, we are coming to Asija. We are coming. We will soon join you. And I started seeing how God was working and how relaxed she was and how God was just using her. And I said, this is the way. So there will always be a forerunner. When the Lord calls, He equips. So there will be everything that you need for your call. But what happens sometimes is that we take some of these things as a job. When we take ministry as a job, then we lose it. Because then we will be in and out, trying to satisfy a personal need. The call of God is not about satisfying a personal need. It's about satisfying the need in the heart of God. And so you resonate with what resonates in God's heart. And so your joy and my joy would be fundamentally to those are a few lessons that I have learned over time. And the other thing that I've also learned is when the Lord speaks, one of the things that keeps us as people of God is we wait for confirmations till forever. You know, confirmation of the Lord, confirm again, confirm. And in those things, we are losing out. We are losing out. Our move will never be perfect. Let us just start. Let us just start. One thing that I would also want to say that gave me strength was journaling. It's important that you journal. You get dreams, and this is just critical. Dreams are not just empty things. God is speaking. Visions, prophecies, sermons. You know those things that the Lord speaks. Let's be in the habit of journaling. Because I can tell you that what led to my final quit was the journals. The Lord would take me back and show me, this is what I said. This is what I said. In fact, some of my scary moments were prayers that I wrote because I didn't want to say them and I forgot. So I said, Lord, I would write my prayer and say, Lord, I hear you telling me to quit and I am scared. But Lord, send me a confirmation and I will know that it is you. And he will. And then he takes me back and say, Lord, you've sent me a confirmation. Please indulge me. Send me just one more. You know, and so there would be a progression in terms of how God is talking to me because I'm journaling.
Yes.
God is not haphazard. God is very systematic.
That's true.
If we take the trouble to pay attention to his voice, then you will realize that God is actually talking. And to us personally, let us move away from the thing of pastor, what is God saying about me? I mean, that is just elementary. We need to now grow up to a place where God, whoever you're bringing, is merely confirming and not informing because you're journaling. So as I've journaled, I saw what the Lord would say. And step by step, I got into the right place. So journaling is a big game changer because God doesn't lie. You can always go back. And I remember even in places where I would be scared, I'll be like, Lord, at this point I think it is my mind. But anyhow, you know my heart. And I will put it there. And so sometimes what I thought was my mind was actually God. So then his voice becomes clearer and clearer as we go. And the voice of God will never become clear unless we obey. It is in obedience that his voice becomes clear. So the more we disobey, the more we will never hear his voice clearly, the more we will never move into what God is calling us to. So the key to walking with God is obedience and prompt obedience. If I call you now, I'm not calling you now to inform you things of next year. There is a reason why I called you now. And when the Lord speaks to us now, there is a reason why he's saying to us that thing now and not tomorrow. So when we begin to obey him promptly, he will help us. And just an additional thing, accountability. Let's be accountable. Let's find somebody who we consider mature in faith to walk with us. Because then that person can be able to, and this person should be one that can be blunt with you, can tell you you've messed, can tell you the right things, and you will take it. So that at any point, you are not your own God, you are not your own boss, you are under authority, because God placed authority for a reason. I would be fearful of somebody who is not under anyone. Then they said they were called and they started their outfit, and I'm like, where are your roots? We need to know your roots. That lineage has got to be followed. It's God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
We need to know that.
Yes.
Even Abraham wasn't the start. We know his father Terah, and we go back and back. And so it's critical that we have a path. And that brings in an element of consistency. We will never do the thing that the Lord has called us into if there is no consistency. Be consistent. Find a ministry. There will not be a perfect ministry because you are also not perfect. It's made up of many imperfect people. Find a ministry that you know God has called you. And don't say, I'm here, I'm listening to God. get one voice speaking into your life all through. Get somebody who knows you. You know, the reason why as parents we look for a pediatrician, one, is because you don't want to keep on explaining history to a new doctor every time. That one who's known your child, that one. So even in ministry, find out that person who you can have a consistency. And so they can tell you, dive. And you know they mean well. They tell you it's time to quit. They mean well because you have been consistent with them. So when you have that consistency, chances of error are very few. And that person can take the heat for you. That person will cover you in your face as you're making baby steps towards that place of finally coming to stand. Yeah.
We've had a lot of cases recently, actually in the recent years, of pastors who are mentally ill, who are struggling with mental issues. We had marriage issues, we had conflicts in the family, pastors who are fatigued because of lack of rest. What would you say, or what would you speak concerning that as a pastor? And also, if you don't mind, give us an example of how you rest. How do you rest?
Very good question. How do I rest? You know, after ministry, you need to come back to a home where you're not called Pastor George, where you're just called George, or if your wife loves to give you pet names, and where your children just call you daddy. That is the safe place. What has happened over time is that we find ourselves as men of God sometimes separating ourselves, and these are learnings. These are my learnings. I remember in the early years of our ministry, we had a very rough marriage, and rough marriage because I was so committed to ministry and neglected my wife and family. And I remember my wife remarking one time and saying, "You're married to ministry, be defensive about it." At another point, she said, "I wish I was one of your washirikas, because the way you treat your washirikas is better than the way you treat." And it hit home. I said, could I be spending more time with the ministry and not giving the one person that needs my time the most? And so, and I remember reading a book called The Account You Must Give. And this is about, and the Lord was answering, and the Lord gave him a vision. And in this vision, the Lord asked him a series of questions in terms of accountability. And the first question he asked him is, where is the wife I give you? Where are the children I give you? Where are the people that serve under your house that I give you? Where is the ministry I give you? The ministry is really a container.
Yes.
If I break down, you know, the family is the engine of my call. If my wife is not with me, then I strive. And I remember striving. It wasn't easy. I was a bleeding, crying man of God. And I think at that time, I felt like my wife wasn't with me. She didn't understand the call. She wasn't totally given to it. And so I couldn't stop on her account. But I remember at some point the Lord bringing a man of God, and the man of God talked prophetically to my wife and said, allow your husband to serve God. If you will not, he will leave the way and it will not be good for you. So she needed to begin to give room for me to serve God, but I also needed to give her attention. And because at the end of the day, when I come back, fatigued and tired, I'm coming back. I want sanity in my home. Yes. Otherwise, I will look for another place. And so she came on board. And what I have done, and this is critical for us, if you're a male, even a woman pastor, deliberate time out for your family. These are two different things.
Yes.
I need to hang out with my wife. There are days I would hang out with my wife, and my children would ask, and I say, it's just mom and dad. It's our time. But I had to make deliberate time. You see, I was working, and what my wife got at some point is that I would give her loose change. As in the time when I didn't have anything, that's when I would have time for her. So she never felt valued. That I would never really just say, you know what, on Tuesday is our date, and I would stop everything for that. So I had to begin to schedule meetings with her, and she is preparing. From morning she knows we have a coffee date.
Yes.
And that changed a lot of things. So let's be deliberate about the people that we have. It's this story of the rock and the pebbles and all that. Let's have the key things in, and that's family. That's spouse, family, and then ministry. We receive a lot of people bringing us their issues, and I realize that can weigh us down.
Yes.
So the Lord taught me some time ago. He is the only burden bearer.
Amen.
The only
Burden
burden
bearer.
bearer. So what we do as men of God is simply clearing and forwarding. So you bring your problems because I am the one. I take your problems to the Lord. He carries the burden. So you have offloaded, and because if I don't offload it, then I die with your thing.
Yes.
So
you take it home.
yes, I take it home and I'm frustrated. And some of them are secret. So I'm all down. And then my spouse will say, and I can't say. Because that's one of our things. Secrecy, you've got to be confidential about the information. If you have to share with your spouse, you've got to ask, is it okay to share with my wife? So I learned that as the problems come and I pass them to the Lord, I remain light for the next problem. And I learned that even from Safaricom. You will get a very nasty caller. Atakutusi. And sometimes it's those ones that are cutting, oh, you have a nice voice and all that. And immediately you hang up that call. There is a fresh person coming in who doesn't know your domains.
Yes.
They want to be received like they are the first person they're talking, the first person they're calling.
Yes.
So I've got to learn to not take things personally. Clear forward.
I think that should be a name of a ministry. Or we should this whole outfit, clearing
And forwarding ministry.
and forwarding ministry.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So that offloads big time burden from our heart in as much as matters of people bringing in their stuff.
Okay.
It's also critical to find a confidant, somebody you can talk to. I find as men, now male species of men of God,
Yes.
we are very secretive. And I came to learn that our vulnerability is actually our strength. It's not our weakness. When I'm vulnerable to my children, they cling because they can relate. When I become vulnerable to a person that I trust, then I am at ease. Now that is a scary part, but that is a place where we also allow for us to exhale. So that person is not just going to side with me, but is going to be a shoulder that I can cry to. So it's important to find that. There will never be above 3 or 4. It's always just 1 or 2.
Yes.
And so find that one person that you can actually call and say, you know what, man, it's just bad. And I just need to talk. I don't need advice. I need to talk.
Yes.
So you come and release it as a man in flesh and blood, and you release it and you feel, you know what, I feel better. Even before anything else. And just that person who can pray with you, just that person who can feel with you, it's critical to have that. That will help us. Now, the other thing that I also think that makes us get to the point of despair as men of God is we want to be mysterious. explicit.
Illusion.
Yeah,
Horror.
you know, like the man of God. You come in like a star ring. You come in and out.
You do
You know,
your thing
your
and
sheep never know you. You never mingle. You finish preaching, you're off. Just be with the people. Be with the sheep. Jesus was with the sheep.
All the time.
Just be with them. Just teach the people that you're with to understand and know boundaries, so that they do not cross the boundaries. But be with them. Be at ease. It's important to laugh. Humor is part of our journey. If this life didn't have humor, then we would be miserable. And Christianity is not miserable.
It is not.
Have fun. Take a trip to nowhere. Take a planned trip. Those are some of the things that have blessed my heart. I take those planned trips with family and all that. I used to be a TV addict. I moved out of it. So that sometimes we have a movie night in the home.
Yeah.
It's a Friday night. We don't have cash. We are there, and we talk and we laugh, and it's just with family.
Yeah.
Find friends, people that you can hang around that you will enjoy being. Just be yourself. I find pastors really struggling. Actually, I can't wear a short. You're in Mombasa, for God's sake. If you're at the beach, you're in a trouser. You'll kunja trouser till when? I mean, be in your short. Who said that pastors have to wear coats and ties all the time? There's a day we sat somewhere with my wife and we started saying, let's look and see the people coming in. You can tell a pastor by how they dress. Oh my goodness, that's a sad story, by the way. If you can be identified by our dressing, then it means we are in that box.
Yeah.
Be simple. I mean, when somebody meets me and they do not meet me and say I'm a pastor, I like it. Because then there is nothing written pastor about me.
Yes.
Then I know I can live with people.
Yes.
But the minute you're like, George, no, Pastor George. Really? I'm George. Yeah. If you miss the pastor part, it's fine. Let's just be us. And I find the fact that when I'm just myself, I am not acting. Acting up is actually one of those things that makes us. We get tired of acting up, and that's when we break down. Just be yourself. Let people take you for who you are, and you will find that you have little time to pretend and make up. Just be yourself. Anger. If you're angry, you're angry. Bado tuko kwa hii flesh. Yeah. And it's important for us to teach our members not to place us in a pedestal. We are not gods. We can blunder and blunder big time. I tell people, meet my wife. She will tell you all my bad sides. She knows them. She knows my weaknesses. So let's appreciate and let's teach our people that we can blunder. And when we understand that we can blunder, then there is that room. Because sometimes we feel like we have been placed in a place. What if I tell them that I did this and that and did it? And that is one of the things that has shocked people in my space. I learned from Paul in the Bible with my weaknesses. I actually share more about my failures and my struggles than I do about my strengths. And anytime I talk about my strength, it is on the basis of grace. Because where I am is the grace of God and not because I'm a perfect person. And so that just demystified the whole thing. We are who we are by grace. We have a occasion. Don't be the pastor who comes in at midnight to preach for 1 hour and go back. No, come and stick with the people. Pray. Let me see how you pray. Let me see how you worship. Let's not be the pastors who you're in your office waiting for worship time. No. Come lift holy hands. If you're kneeling, kneel with the people. Just be yourself. That, by the way, liberates, and you find a better life to live. I think that's really what has kept me. I enjoy what I do. I have fun.
Amen. As we conclude, I actually have 2 questions as we conclude, but I need to pick one. So I'll pick the key one. How do you still stay passionate, still stay excited in the things of God? How do you still stay passionate and still excited this many years later?
Wow.
How is this fire still burning this many years later?
Um, I would want to say that finding the secret place is key. That secret place is not with anyone else but God. I spent time with God. I realized that all good and perfect gifts come from above. So I have got to spend time with God to draw. So I funnel upwards like this so that I receive from God. The love I give, I receive. Whatever I get, it is whatever I give is what I've gotten from the Lord. So I have learned to have time away with the Lord. So this time away could be as simple as a few hours away, or elaborate as a few days in seclusion, in fasting, in calling on God, and so that has kept me that place of secrecy, because that's where I get assurance that the Lord still loves me. That's where the Lord still speaks to me. That's where the Lord still rebukes and corrects me. By the way, when we are proved by the Lord, then you know you're still useful. You know, when the Lord stops working on you, you can ask yourself questions. You know, ile sufuria inatumika ni ile inasukuliwa. You know, so you want the Lord. So as long as the Lord is pointing, I'm still falling short in this and that, then I know He still wants me made to be fit for the Master's use. So that's it. It's a very, very important part that has kept me as passionate. I also joy in what God joys in. There were two commandments the Lord gave. One is loving the Lord your God with all your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. I have found that loving people, walking with people, serving people gives me joy. And this is it. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Let me paint this picture just to help you understand. Say for example you go to a restaurant and you eat your favorite meal and you're full. Then you take in and you meet another friend. Oh, I want to take your and you go and you eat. And you load up. So now you're here. Now if you happen not to go to the executive chamber of release, even that which you carry becomes toxic.
That's true.
You actually become sick. So the joy of eating is the ability to release what you have eaten. And as long as you keep releasing, you will keep enjoying to eat. And so that's the whole point. When we get to be givers, there is so much joy in giving. And giving is not money only. Giving could be a listening ear.
Yes.
Giving could be, you pouring out advice. Giving could be sharing in what you know with somebody else. Giving could be you allowing somebody else to go before you. That's all giving. And so I've appreciated that, celebrating somebody. So when you celebrate people, that's a way of giving. We need to move away from the place where I only go to places where I am the key person, the keynote speaker, and all these things. Be somewhere else. Sit. Draw from somebody else. Visit a church and sit. Don't go to a church just because you're the one preaching. If you're raising people, let them preach on your behalf. Oh, you will be refreshed. That refreshes me, by the way. When I have people that I've raised ministering instead of me, my wife ministering, or just somebody else doing what I love to do. That means that we've got to have receptors to actually learn to receive from other people. Because sometimes we're like, up or down. No, we don't all have it. The fivefold ministry is not given to one person.
Yes,
So we will always be able to draw from other people. So that's kept my momentum and family. I enjoy family time. I enjoy family time. I have fun. It's been a while since I went to swim, but those are some of the things I love. When I can't swim, I take walks. I can walk with our dogs, just taking a walk in park, and I love sleep. So I get moments to sleep. And I spoil myself with sleep. Because I realize this body needs to be refreshed. So if this body is worn out, then the engine is out, is burnt out. So refresh this body, sleep, exercise, so those things work for me. So I just love God and love God's people. So that keeps my momentum going. We can't get tired. And it's really a work of grace as well. The Lord has just been gracious. Allowing God to correct me keeps me straight and narrow. You continue using a knife that is sharp. So if we never allow ourselves to be sharpened by God and corrected, then makali naisha. So that just being corrected and always going into repentance, not feeling like you can't repent, like you can't be corrected, keeps me on that straight and narrow and vibrant and in use.
Any final words for anyone that is watching this? Actually, I want you to speak to a person who has just stumbled on this. They had no idea what this video was about. What can, in 1 minute, looking directly at the camera, what can you say to them? They've just stumbled on this video. What would you say to them?
This is what I would say. God is interested in your life. God has a plan and a purpose for your life. Devote yourself to Him. He's been speaking. Incline your ear to Him. You will hear the still small voice. Begin to follow that still small voice. It's going to progressively grow bigger and bigger. And you will find joy in doing what brings joy to God. Move away from self-centered lifestyle. It is self-centeredness that actually denies and robs us of joy of any kind. That when we are selfless, meaning we look up to God and seek to please God, because God's mind is for you and for everybody else, then you will be in a beautiful space. I would also add and say, do not be scared of living with God, of honoring God. Living by faith is the life. You can do it while you're serving in full time. You can do it when you're still working and serving. Give it your all. Don't spare energy. It's either everything or nothing at all. Don't look back and say that I did this thing shoddy. I don't do anything shoddy. If I'm giving it, I give it my best. So give your best. Don't say you're sparing your energy for later. Give it right now, and you will be a happy person. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor George. We really appreciate you and appreciate the ministry that you do in the city of Mombasa. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.
For having me. And God bless you too.
That wraps up our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to subscribe on the ICC Mombasa YouTube page. Remember to comment down below. Tell us what is the one thing, what is your one takeaway from this conversation today with Pastor George. And remember what he said. We are all ministers. Whether you are working in the office, whether you're in the hotel industry, whether you're a businessman or businesswoman, we are Christians, and so we bring Jesus in every space and every place that we find ourselves in. So let us serve, let us be who God has called us to be in the workplace and in today. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye. God bless you.